Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Romain_JF. Today, what I would like to talk to you guys about is a topic that somehow, some way, always seeps into my brain. So I decided to bring it to the YouTube family and see what your thoughts are. And if you guys agree, disagree, just subscribe, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. But what I want to first bring up a topic, right? And I'm gonna put this statement out there. This is gonna be the topic. I think that the unemployment rate is not going to decrease. I think it's only going to increase, right? And I'm not saying that from a view of a Democrat or a Republican at all. This doesn't have to do with politics whatsoever. I think the unemployment rate will continuously increase because our technology is becoming that damn good. I think tech will put a lot of laborious jobs. I mean, they'll eventually be things of the past, right? I think that many jobs that people were doing before and they were physically taxing, eventually we'll have robots and software and devices in place that will replace those jobs. And I'm saying that and I love tech. I love technology. I'm a millennial and I grew up with tech in my hands to a certain degree. And I've also grew up without it as well, like in certain scenarios. Every year, every 5 years or so, every 2 years or so, they're bringing out different devices. They're introducing us to different types of software, and we're becoming users to different interfaces that are programmed to make our lives better. I love tech. I just see that it's going to put a lot of people out of work. It's going to, and I'll also, as well in this, talk about a solution for it. But first and foremost, what I want to say is that the reason why I'm having this video is because of this always has been on my mind. But recently, I took a trip out to Ohio. My buddy was getting married. His girlfriend's from Ohio. He's actually from Illinois. And they were getting married this past weekend. I've had on my mind to do this video. I was going to do it at the airport, but it just didn't make any sense. You know, at the airport, it's so noisy. I'm like, who does a video at the airport? I'm like, you know what? Let me not do the most. Let me wait, right? And I've been waiting for a while to do this type of video. So today's the day. The wedding went great. My buddy had his wedding. It was fantastic. His bride was beautiful, and everyone had a great time. I think afterwards, once the wedding ceremony was done and we celebrated, later on he texted me like, hey, come to my hotel. We're all gonna get together and just have a good time right before everyone leaves out on their flights, because a lot of people had flew in as well too. He traveled a bit and met friends along the way. Well, they both did. So I go back to this hotel, and this is the reason why that sparked me to have this conversation with you guys today. I go back to this hotel, and his wife now introduces a group of her friends. One of her friends she introduces us to. She says she's from New York, right? Okay, she lives at that. And then his wife begins then to say like, wait, no, she's being modest. She actually goes to Cornell. And and the girls are part of the groups, they were astounded, like, wow, this girl goes to Cornell. So, I mean, like, for my circle of friends, to be honest with you, to see, and this is an African-American woman as well, anyone who goes to Ivy League school, I mean, we look at that as high regard because obviously those were spaces that at one point, weren't possible for African Americans. But the more, the more representation that we have that things like that are possible, it's a good thing. So we celebrate those, as part of encouragement as well too. So we were giving her words of affirmation and encouragement, just really proud of this young lady. And, so we begin to ask her, and I asked her as well, too, what do you study? She says she studies aero robotics, right? Robotics. And so she studies that. She learns to code, and she talks about her aspirations of taking what she learned further. I love tech, and I've been studying Python, as you guys seen in some of my previous videos, and I'm still on my Python journey. I'm still learning, guys. So, I'm in my Jupyter notebook. I'm still learning my if statements and how to concatenate. So I'm still on the cuffs, right? But either way, I'm extremely intrigued in tech, and I'm all the way into this, right? I'm invested. So I wanted to ask her a few questions because she's already in the space. She's doing the work. I love it. I felt like there's nobody better for me to talk to at this point than her at this moment, right? So I asked her, I sat alongside her and I asked her, like, hey, I just have a few questions for you. Since she's in the space and she's educating, to become eventually a pioneer of the space. I asked her, what does she think? It's broad, but what do you think on tech? And also too, I brought to her what she thought the employment rate would look like in the future. She said to myself, she didn't necessarily think of it in that way, but she doesn't know want to stifle technology, right? She thinks that humans will adapt. And eventually they'll learn coding, programming. They'll learn. We'll find other means of employment, right? And other means to make ends. I thought to myself when she said that, I didn't say this to her up front, but I mean, I gave my rebuttal to that, but I thought to myself, she gives us too much credit. She definitely gives human beings way too much credit. I think majority of human beings won't be able to keep up. I think tech will move within ways where eventually the programs will be few, and as right now programs are few, but the programmers will be few and the robots will be of many, and they'll take away laborious jobs in which people would do today. So we got into this dialogue. So what I'm going to say is that I'm going to bring up a few examples for you guys, and we look at these things as cool today, but I don't think people really paid attention. Currently today, there's the self-checkouts, right? Self-checkouts and kiosks. When you're going to McDonald's, and you like the kiosk when you're going to McDonald's and you're going to maybe a Honey Grow store, or just you're ordering food, you can literally go to the kiosk instead of speaking to a cashier or a front desk person. You go to the kiosk, you select what you want, your food eventually prepared in the back, right? You no longer need to speak to anyone. When you're doing self-checkout, that was someone's job. Someone was standing there at some point and they got rid of those cashiers, and they've put their self-checkout in order for the human beings to, take what they want and slide through and scan what they want to pay for, and they go about their business. That was someone's job previously. The kiosks, the self-checkouts, those were actual human beings in those places previously, now replaced by tech. Fine. I love kiosks. Who doesn't? And I also like the idea of self-checkout because I don't want to wait in a line, when I only have a few items. It makes sense completely. But there's also tech that's currently being developed now. And if you guys can look this up as well, Amazon bought out Whole Foods, and Whole Foods is developing technology where you'll be able to select what you want, put it in your cart, walk out of the store, not even having to speak to anyone. After you made all your selections, you'll be able to walk out of the store, and your Amazon account is then withdrawn for the amount of the things that you had put in your cart. Like, so your purchase is now done once you walk out of the store. That's tech that is currently being developed now. they are developing it, and I wish I had the name for you guys, but you can look this up. They are going to first start its use in airports, at like kiosk stations, like where you can grab a snack to go. A lot of times you're waiting for a flight, and you just want to grab a snack. You don't want to wait in a long line. Grab a snack and you go. Your account is automatically charged, right? I've seen as well in China they have face recognition to charge people instead of cards and things of that nature. They just use face recognition to charge people for the items that they plan to purchase. That's all technology that's replacing human beings, right? I want to take it a step further. We've seen recently in Domino's, right? Domino's Pizza. And I like this, right? I thought it was really cool. Domino's Pizza now has the ability, and they're only in certain states that I know of, Texas, California, and Arizona. They're allowing people to order a pizza and an autonomous vehicle, I think they call it Nero R2, delivers your pizza. And what autonomous means is a self-driving vehicle. Delivers your pizza for you. Cool. Right? And they have a little gimmick. Looks like there's a little gimmicky cartoon character, some guy, I don't know if he's a rabbit or a Joker or whatever the case is, but there's like a gimmicky character to it as well. And it looks playful, but you have to read between the lines here. That thing, the autonomous vehicle in itself replaced the driver that would have then been delivering that pizza. Right? It makes sense for the company who's investing into this because they're cutting out the middleman. They don't have to pay the driver. Humans are always subject to error as well too. So they're cutting out error, right? And what's error here? We happen to be, right? We happen to be because humans are we require our own type of maintenance that in the long run, when a company thinks about their bottom line, we might not be in that bottom line as much, right? So we might not be thought of as much. With that type of thinking, it increases the unemployment rate. And I'm just talking about Domino's Pizza. Eventually, many companies will invest into more Nero R2s, right? More autonomous delivering systems. There's even talks of drones delivering packages to people, right? And I like it because in some cases, those drones could possibly deliver medication to people who need it. I love it. I love the idea of it because we need that type of technology in order to get meds to people faster, in order to get deliveries to people a bit faster. But with that type of convenience, it's coming at a cost, right? And that cost is that human beings are now being iced out of the equation here, because if we can program software to do this, what's the purpose of having you here for? Humans require breaks. We get tired, right? Like I said previously, there's a lot of error when you add the human factor to it. Another example is Amazon. Amazon now has, my friend I never personally worked at Amazon. My friend works at Amazon, and he's always told me about, the work that he does at Amazon is very laborious. And also as well, he works side by side with robots, right? He works side by side with them. And they're not like the Will Smith, I Am Robot that's right next to you. It's not that. He said they're pretty subtle. There are some robots that move like cases from one part of the warehouse to the next, and it reads barcodes, it scans each other, they talk to each other, and they also know whether humans are around them. And they're delivering these cases in order for the distribution to happen for these cases here. Amazon's the best at logistics, honestly, and I think it's great, truly. As human beings, we were meant to get here. I mean, we should literally be like, there should be flying cars right now. We should be a lot further. I think we have the capability of getting a lot further, but we have a lot of dumb things because humans are subject to error. We have a lot of things that are staying in front of us, and I think the idea of, the idea currently, what's problematic too is the idea we haven't developed one central unit system for currency. I think another part of it as well too, race happens to be something that people still care about. Doesn't make any sense because genes just mean genes just code different phenotypes. I have no idea why people still care about race and things like that, because every gene makes each individual different. It really doesn't make any sense. Every human being is different, whatever. But we have a lot of greater things to tackle. Healthcare, we have the climate change to tackle as well too. Like I said, human beings are very emotional creatures, and we literally have error written all over us. Eventually, like we've seen in sci-fi movies, you program these computers and these vehicles, these robots well enough, and they'll be able to read into, our capabilities of error. They'll be able to code that humans are how do I say, a wild card, right? Anything can happen in any type of scenario. We, like robots, will be programmed to do exactly what they do. We are not. One minute we can be happy, the next minute we can be sad. Next minute I could drop kick a robot if I wanted to, right? They'll be able to read into that. I think that a lot of companies are realizing that if they can find programmers, or if they can get programmers and get tech to help them get further along in their bottom line and make goal, they will continuously do that time in and time out. So again, with Amazon has their robots. They have the KV systems, which move the cases from one place to another. They have Boston Dynamic has a robot named Stretch, and I want you guys to search that. I'll put it up as well too. Stretch can move thousands of boxes within an 8-hour time frame. Thousands of boxes, no break whatsoever. No oil change. Doesn't need to be, well, it needs to be charged at some point, but within an 8-hour time frame, it's able to move these boxes from a truck onto a conveyor belt and then onwards. It can do maybe 10 times the labor of 20 guys, right? And it doesn't require any breaks. It's not asking for a pee break. It's not asking for a food break. It's not telling you no. It's not asking for a PTO, right? It doesn't need sleep. Amazing what that tech can do. But like I said, those 20 guys that had previously were taking those boxes from trucks and putting them on the conveyor belts, they're no longer are employed there. They have to find work elsewhere, right? So not only is automation taking jobs, I want to say at the cashier stations, right? The frontline workers, so the cashier stations at the warehouses, they're also autonomous driving as well too. Taxis, delivery drivers, those are all jobs that eventually, if these vehicles, and I think these newer vehicles now all are being developed with LiDAR technology, which means that these vehicles now can sense other vehicles around them, whether it be in front of them or side by side. These vehicles now have cameras on them. With 5G technology and the newer cars that are going to continue to be rolled out with different government implementations, they will continuously develop cars that are able to speak to each other, creating hopefully to congest less traffic as well, and to create a safer environment for us as human beings. Imagine if these vehicles are all able to talk to each other, you'll have less collisions. Many companies will be on board with this. Many. many, because you don't want to see, I don't want to see any accidents on the road. I want everyone to get from point A to point B safely, right? And the reason why most accidents happen is because of, number one reason is distractions, sleep deprivation. Those are reasons, and those are human. That's all human error. With these vehicles, they're programmed to exclude that potential of error. There's always going to be some percentage of, mishaps that can happen, right? But for the most part, it's going to be programmed to be assisted by a human being. But eventually, if good enough, if these roads improve, right, and if these lines on the road are segmented and they're fine, it's able to indicate to the traffic light signals. Eventually, these vehicles will be able, and that's what autonomous level 5 is trying to get to. These vehicles will be able to get you to point A to point B without any assistance from humans whatsoever. So, and this is what they're currently working on now. Autonomous driving is currently being developed currently. Eventually, we rolled out maybe by 2030, right? Maybe by 2028, 23, who knows? But what I want to say is that once the fleet of autonomous taxis or autonomous Uber drivers and autonomous Uber Lyft drivers comes out, it then puts many people at a position where they no longer are needed for the job that they depend on in order to make ends meet. That's why I say that the unemployment rate is only going to increase, it's not going to decrease. This is the case for many jobs today. Sometimes think to your think about what you currently do today. And there's reason to believe that eventually an autonomous, programmed system will be able to do it. Even nowadays, when you call, customer service line, more times than not, you're going to get an autonomous answering machine, right? And Microsoft has GPT-3, in which they bought that now is programmed to have full conversations with people. It's smart AI. It's able to pick up on conversational patterns and keep up. You're able now to have a conversation fully with a robot. I remember back in the days, they used to ask you to press 1 and press 2. Every once in a while they do, but now they just pick up on voice patterns and they ask you like, hey, what are you calling for? And you say what you're calling for, and maybe a simple command, and it'll route you eventually to a human. But what I want to say is that previously the customer service line was answered by a human being to begin with, and we were outsourcing those jobs, and that was a problem before. From the United States, there was a problem before because we're outsourcing those jobs to places in the eastern part of the globe, right? And people found issue with that. But now you gotta at some point you may have to find an issue with these automated systems that are being programmed, and they're replacing us, guys. And they're replacing us. They even have in some cases, there are now robots. There are robots in emergency rooms that are able to do surgeries. Well, with the assistance from a physician, some guidance from a physician, but even when it comes to like small surgeries, there's currently tech that's able to do these surgeries with minimal assistance from physicians, right? Physicians literally there just to guide them. A lot of times too, they might actually have like a tech there that's trained for the specific job, and the physician is just there in case of mishaps, right? Guys, yeah, tech is the future, guys. Tech is the future, and I think that, and this is the reason why I think that the unemployment rate is only going to increase. You got to really think about the job that you currently have now and see if it can't be replaced. I've heard of a story. There was a guy who he was working for a finance company, and what he did was he used a SQL server to pull data, right? That's what he did. There was it was him and maybe 30 other employees, and they all were in the cubicles, and he literally found patterns and tried to find like finance errors, right? That's what he looked for, certain patterns. He happened to know how to code. He coded software to do his job for him, to do exactly that, and it did it with 99.8 proficiency. Amazing. He brought it to his employer, and he said, "Hey, I figured out a way. I coded this, and I figured out a way to do our job a bit faster." His entire sales force was then wiped out because he then programmed himself out of a job. They loved his tech. I mean, I'm pretty sure they probably bought it from him, hopefully, at a decent rate, but they no longer needed that sales force, right? We don't need what he did specifically. They didn't need a data analyst because he was able to code and look for those errors. If you're just looking for patterns, you can create a software that looks for those specific patterns. He did just that, replace his workforce. There's been plenty of examples like that, right? And it just takes one person to look to see, like, hey, like, can we be doing this a bit differently? Could we be doing this a bit better, right? And you bring a programmer to it, and they'll program it, and they'll do exactly just that. They'll create something a bit better, right? And sometimes they may come at a cost where you may no longer be, whatever person was doing that job before may no longer be needed. And that's something we definitely have to think about. I want to say too, Waymo, even Google has Waymo. Waymo is autonomous driving, and that's something that's eventually going to be brought out to the masses, right? An autonomous driving vehicle, getting you from point A to point B. You no longer need taxis. Like, imagine what that would do in the city of New York. It's congested, right? Some of that congestion is due to human error, right? Someone who's all the way on the left lane, but they need to get to the right. And they're going to try their darndest to get all the way to the right lane, causing traffic. If these vehicles spoke to each other, that wouldn't happen, right? It wouldn't happen. It would limit the amount of times that you've seen unnecessary congestion in traffic, right? That one person who's looking down at their phone, the light's green, and they are not going. It's causing delays and causing traffic. With these autonomous vehicles and the way they'll be programmed, you won't see that as much. So, guys, so I'm saying this, and I also want to offer a solution as well too. So I don't want to say all that and not offer a solution. What I think two solutions, right? And I think the obvious, you guys may think, right? You know what he's gonna say. He's gonna say learn the code. Yeah, learn the code, right? That's one solution. But regardless of whether or not we learn the code, if some of us learn the code, if you can, I say definitely do it, take it on. I'm trying to take it on myself. It's not easy, but it's one of those things. I'm like, you know what? I know on the other side of this computer is a whole nother world. And I want to be able to code so I can implement and change what that world looks like for me. So I think that we should as well. And I think too, like, I mean, just to get in a little bit of conversation, right? I don't think a lot of us paid enough attention when it came to the Matrix. I think the guy we were paying a lot of attention to Neo. We should have been paying a little bit more attention to the individual who allowed Neo to get into the system, right? And I don't know his name, but it was like this guy. He was programming. He was on a computer while Neo was getting put into the system. That guy should have been paying a little bit more attention to, because he afforded Neo the ability to then, decode the Matrix, right? So what I want to say is this. The other solution I wanted to bring up, not just learning the code, but the other solution is that, and this has, I'm an American citizen, same way you guys are American citizens. And if, same way we all are living on this earth. I don't know where anyone's watching this video from, but if you're, not from America, just leave a comment, let me know where you're from. But regardless, guys, I think another solution would be, and Andrew Yang brought this up, this conversation has been brought up before, I truly believe in a universal income. Not because I want free money. Free money does sound fine, great. But I think to myself, the way technology is moving, there's constantly software updates for tech. There's constantly software updates. It gets better. It gets better. Tremendously, it gets better. But there's no updates for the human being. We don't get updates. My updates is I have to read. I have to take in technology, and I'm still subject to error. We will eventually not be able to keep up. You cannot outrun a car. It just won't happen, right? And eventually we won't be able to keep up with the computing abilities. I think if not now, but I think these computers are able to compute faster than the human brain. Guys, I think we truly need universal income. And the reason why I say that is because there is no software update for us. Eventually, the unemployment rate will continuously increase, right? It will continuously increase. So that means more people are unemployed. When more people are unemployed, it creates more chaos, more desperation. And not because people want to, but they don't have any other means. You can't just say, just get another job. People who have a job are clinging on to the job that they do have. Those that are searching for work, they're going to have to tremendously change their lifestyles or find other means. And those other means may not be conducive to the life that you're currently living, right? We've seen when unemployment rate goes up, so does crime, right? And let's keep that from happening, because like I said before and previously in this video, as human beings, we have a lot of work to do. They're currently trying to build colonies in Mars. We have a lot more to tackle. I think if we took the idea off of, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a grand amount. It could be just $1,000 a month, right? Something to keep people afloat. Not anything where you no longer have to get a job anymore, but something where it aids you while we continuously progress in this world and we're figuring out what this new future looks like. It aids the people who are in need of assistance, right? Because there are a lot of people who are in need of assistance. My mom I recently taught my mom how to use her iPhone. I think my mom is 64, I believe. I recently taught her how to use her iPhone. Not everyone's tech savvy. There's people in their 50s who aren't tech savvy, right? And they'll be here. There's some people who aren't still familiar with Google. To this day, I'm not even too familiar with Google. I think Google needs to do a better job on, introducing people to their platform and all the things that they have to offer. But I would say that people need assistance, right? In order to keep up in this new world. Or we'll have eventually, some of those, you ever seen those sci-fi movies where you have disgruntled, kind of like a utopia where people are distrusting of the government and distrusting of tech and just everything. I think before we even get there, people don't trust the government as is, but before we truly even get there with a Mad Max kind of situation, I think we need to implement policies in place that not only aid us as human beings, but it doesn't stifle technology, because we need tech to continuously expand, right? We need the idea of democracy to continuously thrive in this nation, because there's a place for it, right? There's definitely a place for it, and we need to do things a bit differently. So guys, and that's my video. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I know I went off on a rant a little bit, but I hope you guys like this video, and you know, you can agree with me, not agree with me as well. Just let me know your thoughts. Yeah, just leave a comment, guys. Again, Romain_JF. Thank you for being with me, and thank you for allowing me to have this conversation with you guys. I personally enjoyed it. So yeah, have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. See you guys.